Welcome back to the podcast. My name is Joseph Clough, and this is episode 799. Yes, we are just so close to episode 800. So I hope you've been enjoying my work. And in this episode, we're going to be talking about how long does it take to reprogram your mind. So in other words, if you have an issue, if you have the imposter syndrome, if you have anxiety, if you have worries, fears, or doubts, if you have a phobia, if you have presentation skill issues, if you want to lose weight, whether it be any issue whatsoever, I want us to consider that in our mind as to how long it takes to let it go. Now, I'm going to lead into that question by asking you a question. Because if we reverse it for a moment, how long did it take to formulate that issue that you may be experiencing? And not even formulate, to create. How long did it take for, say, a phobia, if you experience a phobia, to just come into existence? To believe that we're not worthy, deserving, or good enough? How long did it take for your unconscious mind to make it a reality? And the reason why I say the unconscious mind, because I don't think you consciously, or for most of us, consciously choose to have an issue. We don't go, well, I want to feel not good enough, or I want to have the imposter syndrome, or I want to have panic attacks. It's an unconscious process. So how long does it take to reprogram the unconscious mind? Because if you could let it go, you would. But if you cannot, it must mean the unconscious, or you could say subconscious mind created it. But the tag question is, how long does it take for you to create the issue? Really think about it. Now, if you said, well, it took years, it took months, it took, let's say, days, I believe you're wrong. You see, you may have had conditioning to get to that place. Say, for example, we grew up in a family, say our mother or father just kept saying to us, look, you're not good enough, you're not good enough, you're not good enough, you're not perfect, you're not good to be able to do X, Y, Z. You didn't believe it until one day you did. So in other words, to create an issue, it happens in a moment. There may have been some pre-programming or significant events, but in one moment, your unconscious mind, in my opinion, assumed it to be true. For example, like the easiest example would be, say, for a phobia. There's a one-time significant emotional event, like I see a dog, I was being overly playful with it, and it just kind of snapped at me when I was very young. In that one moment, my unconscious mind goes, dogs are dangerous. And then, over time, that either was, in that moment, a big phobia, but then it just began to grow. But it took that one moment, a decision, to have that phobia. And in the same way of belief systems that we hold about ourselves, or say the imposter syndrome or panic attacks, I believe it happened in one moment where your unconscious mind thought, I'm not good enough. I'm an imposter. I don't believe it takes a long time. It may have taken lots of situations to come to that conclusion, but it happened in that moment. You may have gone through lots of different events, been told the exact same thing, had 10 bad relationships, but in that one moment, you then decide relationships aren't worth my time, or relationships are bad. One moment. So now if we go back to my original question, how long does it take to reprogram your mind? Well, surely it's the exact same thing. It takes one moment to let go of an issue. You see, most people think it takes years to let go of their issue, only because they've experienced that issue for a long time. So they equate the length of time of having, say, anxiety, say I've had it for 10 years, It's going to take me a long time, the equivalent, maybe a little bit less or a little bit more, to let go of anxiety. Same thing for limiting beliefs. But in my opinion, it's a lie that we bought into. Now, some people, even in the media, or even some therapies say this. And that's not throwing stones at therapies. I love all therapies which are geared to be able to help and support us. I don't mind if it's psychotherapy, counseling. I love therapies if they're there to help us and support us. But I will say it doesn't need to take the same amount of time that you've had your issue to let go of the issue. If you do that, you're setting up expectations to your unconscious mind. It's going to take that amount. You see, whatever you perceive to be true, you begin to create. You live by that. It becomes your definition. So if you go, well, I've had it for 10 years, it's going to take that amount. You're telling your unconscious mind that it's going to take that amount. It's going to take a lot of struggle, a lot of stress. But in reality, just like how an issue can be created in a moment, your unconscious mind can be reprogrammed in just one moment. Now, there are some caveats to that. For example, there were some events that led to that one-time decision, say, I'm not good enough. Took some, say, foundational work. And sometimes when it comes to transformation, you need some foundational work. You need to understand the nature of the issue. That's the one thing that I really like to discover with my people in my program. We understand the root cause. Now, thinking about that, that's the other reason as to why we keep our issues for a long time, because we're not working on the root cause. We focus on what we feel the most, and that's going to be our pain. For example, if I feel anxiety most of the time, I'm only usually going to think that anxiety is the problem. Or if I have, say, that inner critic, or if I have procrastination, if I feel that inner critic or procrastination for a long period of time, I experience it most of the time, I'm going to presume that procrastination or the inner critic is my real issue. So a lot of the time we are geared up to think, I'm going to work on my symptoms because I feel them the most. But though the truth of the matter is, there are signals leading you to the truth of the root cause. Once you discover all those signals, those symptoms, and then go, what's the root that is connecting all of those together? That if I let go of, those symptoms cannot exist. And that's what we can change in a moment too. So there may be some foundational work of discovering what that is and doing some transformational processes for your unconscious mind to get that. But in the time of decision, it takes a moment. You see, the analogy I like to think of is, let's just say we weren't feeling very well one day and we go to a doctor. And as we go to that doctor, they would usually say, look, what are you experiencing? Tell me your symptoms. And you'd go, I got a headache, sore throat, stomachache, aches, pains, fever, shivers. Every time I eat, I feel bad, all those things. Well, if that doctor turned around to you and just said, look, what we're going to do is give you one pill for the headache, one for the sore throat. We're going to give you another set of pills for the aches and the pains. Another one for every time you eat something and you feel bad. One to help you sleep at night. One for the bad stomach. One for the sinus. One for the headache. Like, before you know it, you're like, oh my goodness, I've got to take these 10, 15 pills every day, some of them multiple times a day, just to keep my symptoms at bay? Well, in that moment, you'd probably go, there is no way that I'm going to be with that doctor, right? Because you don't want to treat the symptoms. Now, let's just say we go to a new doctor. You find them, you see them online, you've been recommended, or they've got good reviews, or you just feel like you connect with that person. When it comes to being a doctor, of course. And let's say you go to that doctor, and the question they ask is the exact same. What are you experiencing? What symptoms do you have? And in that moment, you go, I've got all these symptoms, exact same symptoms that you said to the first doctor. But then you get a different outcome. Because the doctor goes, based on everything you've told me, all those symptoms, based on my knowledge, you've got a bacterial infection. That's creating every time you feel bad, or eat something you feel bad. That's creating the fever and the shiver and all these other symptoms. So you're going to just take the antibiotics and it's going to clear up the bacterial infection. One pill, maybe 2-3 times a day, but only for 5-6 days this time. Now, I'm no doctor, so that course could be longer, but it could be a little bit less as well. But I know when I had a bacterial infection once, all it was one pill twice a day or so, based on memory, but it was only for like 5-6 days. And suddenly, my symptoms disappeared. So if we take that as an analogy, if we only work on what we feel the most, like the headache, sore throat, stomachache, but now change that to worry, anxiety, the inner critic, the procrastination, the self-sabotage, the fear of failure, the fear of success, the fear of being found out. If you only work on those, say you worked on the procrastination for the next month or two, then the other symptoms are still going to be there. You got to work through those, and that may take another month each. Or you work on the procrastination, it goes for a little bit, and guess what happens? It just springs back up. Because just like a weed, if you just pull out the leaf, therefore, it will just grow another one. But you've got to get to the root of that weed. And the exact same thing when it comes to reprogramming our mind. If you want to change in a moment, yeah, there's some foundational work, but just to make a new decision, by getting your unconscious mind to know there's a safer way of being, if you can communicate with it, if you can get the unconscious mind to recognize and realize there's a safer way of being without the issue, biologically it has to make that change because it's here to serve us and protect us. It just thinks the anxiety, the worry, and the fear is protecting us because intentionally it is. But we've got to not work on symptoms. We've got to work on the root of the matter, the deep unconscious root cause. When you do that, the issues will disappear ever so quickly. Almost as quick as the time it took to create the issue in the first place. So don't buy into it takes years to let go of an issue. Don't buy in it takes many months. It can just be like that. Of course, you need to either find the right doctor or the specialist to help you do that. That can be the case sometimes. You can do it by yourself. People have let go of their issues. Sometimes it takes a bit of time, a bit longer to get that foundation, especially if you're, say, a novice when it comes to the conscious mind and the unconscious mind. But if you do go down that route, it may take time, but it's not going to take years and years and years. You want to be able to just ultimately focus on the root of the matter, rather always talking about it, always trying to figure out what happened in your past. Because some people can talk about their issues so much that they know it inside out, yet they still keep the issue. Because it's not about you consciously understanding and knowing everything about it. To me, it's about getting the unconscious mind to do it. And we've been so hypnotized by the events, we've been so programmed by those past significant events or people in our life who've told us X, Y, Z, or bad relationships, or we lost a job, lost a business, that we just think, oh my goodness, it's going to take forever. It doesn't have to be that way. If you find the root and solve that, then your unconscious mind can be reprogrammed even in that instant. Now, of course, once you let go of it, it's important to be able to then gain new data, right? So it took a bit of that foundational data to come to that conclusion of I'm not good enough. Well, sometimes having let go of the problem, you need to continually work on it just so you're almost like cultivating this new plant. You've kind of taken out the weed and you planted in this most beautiful plant. Think of the most beautiful plant you've ever seen, or tree, or whatever it is. Well, it's going to take time to sometimes take to the soil or to be nurtured. It's got to be placed in sunlight. And that is where sometimes, if we take that as a metaphor but put it into our transformation, is being surrounded with the right environment. And that could be the people. It could be like your tribe. It could be your family. And by family, I mean those who lift you up. People who are going to support you. People like you who have maybe gone through that. So you have that level of understanding, but you're moving toward momentum to be the person that you want to be, just like they are. So just remember this. Do not fall into the trap that it's going to take forever, because you'll only ever feel broken. You'll only ever feel unfixable. And if you work only on symptoms, you will always and only feel broken and only feel unfixable, because you do one and another one pops up, or that just comes back again. So don't focus on solving what you feel the most or what you experience the most when it comes to your issue. That should lead you to the root cause if you do it in the right way. If you, like I said, get help to be able to find that, or if you research and put a ton of time in understanding how the unconscious mind, like for example, you could go on trainings to be able to discover all this data, just like I did. You could be working with clients, so if you were becoming a practitioner, to gain more information, or you could read a ton of books. So it can take time and a lot of investment to be able to discover that, but you can work with someone to discover it. But ultimately, the truth of the matter is, as quickly as it took to create in that one moment can be the exact same thing in the solution. It can just take one moment. I like to call them epiphanies. I think there was actually a study, or there was a study, I just don't know all the details about it, and they wanted to do a study of like how people quit smoking. Like all this data, what did they do to quit smoking? And some people may have said, I did hypnosis, or I did the nicotine gum, or I did cold turkey, or whatever it may be. But there was this one group of people who had the most success and were the biggest group of people who did not relapse back to smoking. And that was the ones who just decided, woke up one day and gone, I'm done. Now think about that. Woke up one day and I'm done. Well, to me, that was the conscious mind and the unconscious mind going together in unison. I'm done. The conscious mind, when it comes to the nicotine gum, when it did the hypnosis sometimes, or where it be reading about books like the, was it Alan Carr one? Or for someone Carr one, took a lot of conscious pushing and failing and not feeling good, or like it took a long time. It was more of a struggle, but those who are successful just decided. So almost that's what we do in hypnosis. We get the unconscious mind to just decide, I'm done with not feeling good enough. There's a safer way of being. I'm done with anxiety. Not you doing it, because I know you're done. You're ready. I mean, most people are. I know we have reasons for keeping our issues. Maybe we get attention. Maybe by being a victim, we get lots of people looking after us. So that's one thing to be kind of conscious about. Are we getting some gains by keeping the issue? But putting that to one side, let's presume that's not true for you. Well, you've got to then just get the conscious mind to go, oh, I'm done. But then the unconscious mind to go, I'm done with doing this, because that's the thing which is doing this. That's running the program. You're not running the program consciously. But once your unconscious mind goes, I'm done, then life will never be the same again. You just got to find that root cause and only work on the root cause, no matter what. Not what you feel or experience the most. That leads you to it with the right help. But doing that, it can just take a moment. So my answer to how long does it take to program your mind? Just an instant. That's just the way it is for me. That's my plan. So even, for example, I have a system, an 8-week system to let go of the imposter syndrome and not feeling good enough, worthy, deserving, not loving themselves, or not feeling of value or capable. Well, we find the root cause of all that stress and pain, only work on it by doing all these unique different vehicles of transformation, where it be personalized and customized experiences, or these crazy profound modules that we do, or the group aspect of transformation, the one-to-one aspect. By doing that, we go to meet the issue where it lives, and it doesn't meet in the conscious mind, it meets in the unconscious mind. So you can replicate that yourself if you put enough time and effort to do so. But Don't focus just on the symptoms. Don't try to solve those. It takes a moment to let go of the issues that you experience. Now, of course, if you are someone who just wants the, I'm here and I want to get over here in lightning quick speed, and you want to get the expert advice, a professional experience of transformation, of someone who's been there and done that and replicates it with everyone else within the program, of the imposter syndrome, of not feeling good enough, worthy, deserving, so you can level up your career, you can be the person you want to be in your relationship, you could be the example to maybe your children, rather passing on that story. That's the one thing. I don't have children, but if I were to, I would hate to pass on that same story, because ultimately 93% of all communication is unconscious. We can say all the right things in our 7% of words, but if we're communicating something unconsciously, we don't want to get that to be repeated to those we're passing down onto our legacy. Maybe we've had our issue because that's been passed down to us. But as I said, if you are ready to step up and go all in on your transformation, to do what has to be done, to invest in yourself, because look, if you want to make changes and you want to get the experts to support you, who have done all the research and investment into doing just that, because it takes a lot of time. Like I know for me, I've invested thousands, over 100,000, way more than that actually, probably 250,000 in understanding this information, so then we can let it go lightning quick in a fully customized way. So if that is you and you're like, I'm done, I'm ready to go to josephclough.info/talk, and then you go ahead and book a time to speak with us. And when you get on that group call, or not group call, that one-to-one call, the person with you will guide you to what the truth is, where you are, where you want to be, what's getting in your way. That's what we're experts at. Figure out if you're a good fit with us, and if we can solve it, we'll say yes, 100%. We can let it all go in the most wonderful, quick, profound way. It doesn't have to be hard. It can be, like you're putting energy into it, a few hours a week. That's nothing to let go of it in 8 weeks, having had it for decades. But you can go to josephclough.info/talk. So once again, you go ahead and book your call, you fill out an application, and then you go ahead and attend the call. We get clear on exactly where you are, where you want to be, what's getting in the way. And then if you're a good fit, we may invite you into the program, because you got to be willing, you got to be ready. We only work with people who we like and love and really want to serve, who are equal to put that energy in, just like I am. And then we go ahead and make it a reality with you. So that's josephclough.info/talk. So with that, my friends, I hope you enjoyed. I hope you got some value from this, that don't fall into the lie that it takes forever to change, because you'll only ever feel broken, lost, and alone. As quickly as it was to take the issue on at an unconscious level to decide it, well, it's the exact same thing in my opinion. May need some foundational work, doesn't take long, maybe a few weeks, but once it's got that, it has the epiphany to go, I'm done in every single way. So I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I look forward to speaking to you on a future podcast. So, next podcast, episode 800. So I look forward to speaking to you on that one. Many thanks and goodbye.